World where truth is often unseen by power and politics, one man has dared to speak out through the powerful medium of cartoons. For decades, Jonathan Shapiro, or Zapiro, of course, has been a fearless documentarian of South Africa's journey from apartheid to democracy. Now, The Showerhead, it's a gripping new documentary that takes us on a journey into the heart of Zapiro's creative genius and his unshakable pursuit of justice. It premieres at the Durban International Film Festival on the 27th of July. And to chat to us a little bit more about this documentary, South African cartoonist Jonathan Shapiro now joins us virtually. Good morning, Jonathan, Zapiro. Thank you for joining us at this hour, and welcome to SABC.
Oh, thank you so much. Nice to be with you.
Well, thank you for the work you've done over the years, of course, just being part of South Africa's storytelling, holding truth to power as well. And so in lieu of the focus of the documentary, The Showerhead, talk to us a little bit more about that offering.
Well, of course, the work itself is by somebody else. I mean, all of a sudden, I was approached by Craig Tanner years ago, who is a lawyer and filmmaker. He went to live in Australia. He contacted me. I mean, a number of people had contacted me about possibly doing some sort of documentary on my work. And what Craig had was an idea. I mean, he basically came with the title, The Showerhead, and I just thought that is really, that's clever. To people know what The Showerhead is. It connects Jacob Zuma and me. It is, you know, I've had some great struggles with Jacob Zuma, and I think Jacob Zuma represents a kind of dangerous populism, anti-constitutionalism, a kind of like abuse of power that is happening all over the world. So, you know, I thought it was a very good idea to link these things and to link freedom of expression, and that's what Craig has done in this movie.
I actually want to delve into that point a little bit further, just on the issue of the waves of change happening the world over. We've seen the emergence of populist movements, you know, the world over, so it's not unique to South Africa. But perhaps as we look at some of those issues plaguing South Africa, this post-Mandela period, as highlighted in your cartoons, also shown in the documentary, I mean, what are people able to see and witness on that front?
Well, you know, often when I do talks, I ask people, when do they think the first critical cartoon is that I may have done of Jacob Zuma? And people say, 2008, 2006, 2007. It's actually 2002. So what I want to highlight is that I don't have some sort of special knowledge. I watch and listen and see the work of investigative journalists, and they were identifying the arms deal and what had happened around that as something that had poisoned our democracy, poisoned what we started out incredibly well with. And I was watching, and yeah, 2002 was the first critical cartoon, and the sort of rent-seeking and the kind of corruption that is set in is not unique to South Africa. But if you identify the kind of people who are, I mean, there was Jacob Zuma angling for the highest job in the country, and in fact he got it, and he became ANC president in 2007. So all along the line, I was watching and sniping, because you use the word documentarian for me. I'm a satirist. That's my first job.
Yes.
I also document, and so to satirize, not to take things at face value, that's what we cartoonists and other journalists, and editors, columnists, people should. That's something that we can do that can help kind of communicate things for other people, and somehow this Showerhead thing, which started in 2006, really took off, and it became a lot more than simply what Zuma had misconstrued about HIV around the shower.
Yes.
It presented all his kind of foibles and the sort of anti-constitutionalism. And yeah, so it seemed to be a series of themes that ran through the movie.
You know, Zapiro, speaking about the use of your satire, being a satirist, how do you think Zapiro's cartoons really demonstrate your commitment at large to challenging societal norms and even advocating for more democratic ideals, just given what's unfolding over this 30-year democratic dispensation?
Well, I started out as an activist cartoonist, which is a lot of cartoonists actually start out like that in various parts of the world, and not always in the sort of first world democracies and things. But cartoonists have had that ability to say things in ways that are difficult to say elsewhere when things are threatened with banning and all that. That's how I started in the 80s, and I continued that same. Well, I suppose with that same sort of sensibility into the 90s, wanting things to succeed, but also I had to try and really show when things were possibly going off the rails or could be a little dicey. And then gradually I was seen by the Zuma administration, by Zuma himself and his administration, as a sort of opponent instead of something, because I'd become an opponent of what they were doing. I still support our democracy. I think that's what I've been trying to do over all these years is really, I mean, do cartoons that support freedom of expression, that support the underdog, that support issues, but that are still, I mean, I want them to be sharp and funny and acid, and I hope that's, obviously when they succeed, they make an impact.
Well, they're obviously serving the country at large. We look forward to the contributions. And I wonder, even as we extend it from our own borders, how do you think the Showerhead, documentary at large also contributes to that global conversation about the importance of protecting freedom of expression, which is a theme that you alluded to? And what impact do you think or hope it's going to have in terms of policy, even practice at large?
I have, interestingly, that's an interesting question. I've had responses from people in other countries where, we are a democracy where there are some tendencies towards despotism and anti-constitutionalism, represented a lot by Jacob Zuma. But there are countries around us that have some similar problems and issues. In Eswatini, in Zimbabwe, there have been people who've used my cartoons when I've done cartoons about Mugabe, about Mnangagwa, about the king, the Swazi, they've used those cartoons where their cartoonists are unable to go as far as we can in South Africa. We have a lot of freedom in our, that's something we do have. We have
Yes.
freedom to do the kinds of satire that I do. So it definitely feels like people around the region are looking at not just my cartoons, at other things that we can do in South Africa. So that has some sort of impact.
I wonder also, just through this film, highlighting the intersection of freedom of expression, but linking it to other human rights, the implications as well this has for social justice at large, accountability, nation building, and social cohesion.
I mean, if you suppress freedom, you put it the other way, if you suppress freedom of expression, you actually suppress all of those good things that you're talking about. Because, I mean, if we have a huge number of protests in this country, every week there are protests, and there are varying degrees of how much they're allowed, and depending on the issues and all of that. And often it's the people who are dealing with issues where they're the most marginalized, whether you're talking about sort of housing activists in small communities or even in big cities. Some of them, sometimes sex workers, sometimes people who are, they're gay and lesbian issues, people who are on the fringes of society that are unable to really use and benefit from some of the constitutional things that are in our constitution. And when freedom of expression is suppressed, it makes it even harder. So those things all of those things intersect. And what I do as a cartoonist is it does intersect with I find people using the cartoons on posters or pamphlets or when they feel that they resonate with their issues. So there's a huge
Yes.
connection. Yeah.
Well, thank you. We're going to leave the conversation there. Thank you for your time at this hour. Thank you for this, new offering as well. We're obviously looking forward to the conversations that are set to emerge from here too. But we're going to leave the conversation with Jonathan Shapiro. Zapiro, again, joining us this morning, talking about the cartoon documentary. It's the Showerhead, obviously taking place at the Durban International Film Festival on the 27th of July. Don't miss this unforgettable journey. It really delves into the heart of what a true South African icon and his work has encapsulated over the years.